I need to test your sound. Does he have the microphone? Oh, okay. I can't hear him. So. Can you have him pause?
Ok, me lo puse aquí. Let's see.
Whatever. Is that okay? Testing? No?
Testing 1, testing 2, testing 3. Good. Estamos, okay. I'm gonna do this presentation. Usually it takes me about 2 hours for this presentation. I'm gonna do 2 presentations today plus Q&A, so we'll do about 4 or 5 hours today. Vamos a hacer 5 horas hoy, eh? So be ready, no lunch. Just kidding. So we're gonna be talking about celebrating our existence through filmmaking, which is something that I learned. We can go to the next slide if you want me to. So, soy de Acapulco, Guerrero, México, la bella ciudad que han visto en televisión, en movies. I am from Acapulco, Guerrero, México, the city that you have seen in TV, in movies, in touristic brochures. But unfortunately, I did not live in the beautiful part of Acapulco. I live in a better part, which is behind those hills. Where all the poor working class people live, and every morning they take a bus to come to work to this side. Yo viví detrás de las colinas, en las colonias de atrás donde vive la clase trabajadora y la clase que todas las mañanas se vienen a trabajar a los hoteles y a los parques. We can go to the next slide. I can just do it. And then that's me when I was 3 years old. Ese soy yo cuando me llamaron a la iglesia. I think era el 12 de diciembre, el día de la Guadalupe. That was December 12th. And then that's me with my cousins, I believe. My cousins are not there. con mis primos en un baile de la escuela, in a dance at school in Acapulco, Guerrero, México. And then that's me visiting my grandparents in Oaxaca. Ese soy yo visitando a mis familiares en Oaxaca. And then we grew up with my family in Acapulco, but because we were so poor, we had to migrate to the United States. Cuando vinimos, éramos tan pobres que tuvimos que emigrar a este país. Yo tenía 18 años y lo primero que llegué aquí fue a darme cuenta por el círculo de amistades, de amigos que vivía, es que me habían dicho que si yo venía a este país no podía estudiar, tenía que olvidarme de los estudios, que aquí solamente veníamos a trabajar y a no meternos en problemas y a no decirle a nadie nuestro estatus legal. When I came to this country, I was told that the only thing that I was going to do here is to work and work, and then not to tell anyone about my undocumented status, and that if I had goals or dreams, to forget about them, because because that's all we have sometimes. And I didn't question it. No lo cuestioné, lo acepté. I accepted that. So I started working in restaurants. My first job was McDonald's, and then I started working in other restaurants, and I spent all of my 20s working in just restaurants. So empecé a trabajar en McDonald's y llegué a los 18 años y durante todos mis 20s me la pasé trabajando en restaurantes. So I also felt very depressed and anxious because also like I was trying to find my identity. I was living in the closet. I didn't have any like queer friends, gay friends. And then I used to see at this restaurant, I worked there for 7 years. And I used to see so many of my coworkers going to college, traveling the world, and getting to college, graduating. And then I was like, this is it. This is my life. Like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So yo trabajé ahí por 7 años y yo veía cómo mis compañeros de trabajo entraban nuevos a trabajar y entraban al colegio también y se graduaban y después de graduarse se iban al restaurante y yo decía, este soy yo, esto voy a hacer yo por el resto de mi vida. So yo viví todos mis 20s muy, no era feliz, estaba deprimido. Entonces, de repente, one day, I was about 30 years old. I spent 12 years working in restaurants by that time. And then I was 30 years old. And then on TV, I saw undocumented protesters. They used to call them the Dreamers. I saw them on TV. And when I saw them, I was like, oh my God, who are they? Are they really undocumented? Yo durante el tiempo que tenía en mi edad, los 30 años, yo los vi en televisión, vi protestantes que yo no había visto antes hasta ese entonces, y yo no podía creer que había personas que se identificaban como personas indocumentadas en las calles protestando, exigiendo derechos. So of course I was like excited about it. I didn't know what was happening. I was like, I want to meet them. I want to be friends with them. I want to go to the protest. Like, I want to tell them I'm here. I'm undocumented too. So yo quería conocerlos, quería ser amigo de todas las personas que estaban protestando. Yo quería unirme al movimiento. Yo quería, estaba como despierto, estaba como despertando. So I met them and I met many of them. And then I realized that many of them identify as queer, trans, bi, gay. And then I was like, oh my God. And for the very first time in my life, I felt like I belong somewhere. So yo sentía, cuando yo llegué a conocer y empecé a ir a las protestas, me di cuenta que una gran parte del movimiento protestante migrante es parte de la comunidad LGBTQ, que se identificaban como queer, lesbianas, bi, transgénero. Y fue así cuando yo empecé a sentir que yo pertenecía a un lugar por primera vez, que yo sentía, wow, aquí hay gente que me entiende, gente con la que yo puedo conectar. Después me di cuenta que muchas de esas personas estaban yendo a la escuela, estaban yendo al colegio, estaban yendo a la universidad, se estaban graduando de los colegios, y yo dije, ¿cómo le hacen? So me empecé a involucrar más y a darme cuenta que había muchos más recursos allá, que había gente que estaba rompiendo paredes, estaba rompiendo muros y estaban haciendo cambios. So I met them and I realized that many of them were going to schools, were going to colleges, were getting degrees, were making changes, they were breaking walls. And I was like, I wanna be like them. I wanna be like them, undocumented and unafraid, undocumented, queer and unashamed. And I wanna go to college too. By that time, I was 30 years old and I was barely getting my GED. I started going to ESL classes and then I got my GED by 30. And at 30, after a long journey, because I didn't qualify for AB 540, which is the bill that allows undocumented students to go to colleges. It was a long journey. En ese entonces yo no calificaba para el bill 540, que era el bill que admite a los inmigrantes indocumentados en colegios y universidades, pero después de un gran proceso, I was accepted in college when I was like 30 years old. That's my picture from Facebook that I found January 13, 2014. I was 30, and I waited so long for this moment, first day of college. Film classes, here we go. And then I started college, and when I was in college, my whole journey, it was different, obviously, because like I was feeling insecure, because my second language, me sentía inseguro por mi inglés, me sentía inseguro porque ya tenía 30 años. I was like, me siento raro, I feel weird. And I remember that at that time I came out to my family, I came out to everyone. Y yo salí del closet con mi familia, con todo el mundo. Yo dije, like, yo soy indocumentado, soy gay y estoy aquí porque ya tenía una comunidad, ya tenía yo una red donde yo me sentía seguro de ser quien yo era y ya había yo entendido que no tenía nada de malo ser quien yo era. Entonces, durante ese tiempo yo estaba pasando por un momento de depresión, tal vez por problemas de no ser aceptado por familiares, por mi identidad, y al mismo tiempo estaba teniendo problemas en el colegio porque no sabía qué era lo que yo iba a hacer. Yo decía, no tengo un seguro social, ¿cómo le voy a hacer cuando me gradúe? No me van a contratar en los estudios, no voy a poder aplicar por un trabajo en cine. I was struggling with my identity, with family acceptance, and then I was struggling with not knowing what to do after college because I was like, I don't have a social security number. How am I going to do it? Like all of my colleagues are gonna graduate and they're gonna pursue their journey, professional journey as filmmakers, but how am I gonna do it without a social security number? And then one of my friends said, hey, have you ever seen this YouTube series? It's on YouTube. It's called The Misadventures of an Awkward Black Girl. Her name is Issa Rae. She created her own story. She put it on YouTube. And I was like, oh my God. And I started seeing the YouTube series. And then I was like, oh my God, I know what to do. Una amiga me dijo si yo había visto una serie en YouTube que se llamaba The Misadventures of an Awkward Black Girl. Y me platicó de esta artista que se llama Issa Rae, y cuando yo empecé a ver esa serie me sentí tan inspirado y decidí escribir mi propia historia. Y yo dije, quiero escribir mi historia, quiero ponerla en YouTube, eso sí lo puedo hacer, no necesito que alguien me apruebe eso. So I started writing the story of an undocumented, queer, Mexican server who's 30 years old, who has an accent, and who feels like he can fit anywhere. And I started writing it without me knowing how to write. I just know that I had a lot here to tell. Yo no sabía cómo escribir, yo solamente sentía que tenía mucho que dar, mucho que sacar de aquí. Mi única meta era sacar de aquí todo lo que tenía yo quería hablarlo, quería exponerlo. Originalmente el título se llamaba Three Course Meal, that was the original title. So I asked my friends for help. I started pitching my friends like, hey, can you help me? I want to shoot my series for YouTube. So we started shooting with more than 80 volunteers in a restaurant. We started shooting 2 small episodes. And that's how I started creating my YouTube web series that at the end I changed the title to Undocumented Tales. Fue así como empecé a crear mi propio proyecto para YouTube, para contar mi historia, llamado Undocumented Tales, Historias Indocumentadas. We premiered in June 12, 2016. 2 small episodes, very low production, 2 pequeñitos episodios, una producción muy pequeña, but I was so excited about. And I'm going to show you the very first clip where we premiere on social media. Les voy a enseñar el primer clip que hicimos premiere en social media.
Okay, I'm ready. I'll have the chicken enchiladas without chicken. I want vegetables instead. No onion. Light on the sauce. No rice. Extra beans. Pinto beans. No cheese on the beans, but I do want cheese on the enchiladas. Is it red sauce or green sauce?
Green sauce.
Green sauce.
Madre, se me olvidó meter la otra de la mesa 4.
Okay, green sauce is okay. I don't want it spicy.
¿No es spicy? Yo sé.
I also want extra cheese and no cilantro. I don't like cilantro. Cilantro, no bueno.
¿Cómo me caga cuando esta gente me habla como si yo fuera un pendejo? Hey, what would you like to drink?
A diet soda. Thanks, sweetie.
Anything for you, sir?
I'll have the soda and the diet.
All right. I'll be right back in a moment. Thank you so much.
Oh, excuse me. Can you make sure they make our food quickly? We have to be somewhere in a half hour.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, ¿a quién se cree?
Pozole?
And when I started writing, I also wanted to tell, the journey of a Mexican server. Yo quería contar el trayecto, el camino de un mesero mexicano. And also, I didn't know, one thing that bothers me a lot is how sometimes white people treat people of color in restaurants. And I didn't know how to articulate how I felt inside. So I felt like I wanted to just put it on the screen and put it on pages. Algo que me hacía sentirme muy raro es como a veces la gente blanca trata a la gente de color en restaurantes. Y yo no sabía articular cómo expresar eso con palabras académicas, pero yo sabía que yo podía ponerlo en la pantalla. Como aquí pueden verse unas microaggressions de la persona que va hacia el mesero. Y también aquí está una foto de todo el equipo. Yo le pedí ayuda a amigos y compañeros de la escuela. I pitched the project to coworkers. I pitched the project to classmates, to friends. And then we premiered 2 clips on social media. But also I wanted to talk about the intersectionality of being an undocumented immigrant and queer. So quería yo también hablar de la interseccionalidad de ser un inmigrante indocumentado y de ser queer. Entonces, yo quería contar la historia desde el principio. Hay 11 millones de inmigrantes en este país. ¿Cómo es que sobrevivimos? ¿Cómo es la historia desde el empiezo? Llegamos y ¿qué hacemos? Se me ocurrió escribir esta escena. There's 11 million undocumented immigrants in this country, so I wanted to tell the story since the beginning. How is it that we started living here? So I wanted to tell that, and then I came out with this scene.
Allá no me dejan hablar.
No, güerita. Aquí, allá, es lo mismo.
Oiga, pero no saben falsas, ¿verdad?
¿Qué pasó, mi jefe? Aquí le damos calidad, aquí pura garantía.
¿Seguro?
Seguro, jefe.
Oiga, ¿y usted no es policía?
¿Qué pasó, mi jefe? Mire, está todo gordo, todo gordo.
No, pues le tengo que preguntar.
Jefe,
¿Seguro?
seguro, jefe, usted tranquilo. No,
¿Qué
nada de miedo.
necesitamos?
Voy a necesitar su fotografía para el pasaporte.
Sí. Y echa mi nombre y mis datos también.
Ok, en 1 hora por aquí nos vemos, ¿no? Y el pago es por adelantado.
On that, I spent a couple weeks writing that scene because I really want to put both sides on the same level, just 2 human beings trying to survive. Yo quería poner a 2 personas en el mismo nivel como seres humanos solo tratando de sobrevivir. And the system is what makes us going through this. El sistema es el sistema quebrado migrante es el que nos hace ir hacia esto. But then I wanted to talk about also being queer. También quería hablar sobre ser queer. So en los primeros episodios podemos ver la vida amorosa, pero también yo quería poner cómo nos afecta el estatus o de alguna manera le afecta a otras personas tal vez, a veces no a nosotros. So decidí escribir esta escena.
We have to take some time out. ¿Quieres terminar? ¿Es en serio? You know, this thing of you not having the papers is affecting me a lot. There's so many things I want to do with you and I can't. I want to travel with you. You can't get in a plane. You can't go to a decent bar and have a nice drink. You have fucking ID. You're always complaining about not being able to go to school.
So that actually happened to a friend, and I decided to put it on there because I couldn't, like, it was, for me, it was so shocking that someone decided to break up with someone just because of their legal status, right? And when my friend shared that with me, I asked them, and I decided to talk about this, to talk about the things that we don't see on TV. Yo decidí poner esto en la pantalla porque yo quería escribir, después de estos 3 clips, yo decidí que yo quería escribir de las cosas que yo no veo en la pantalla. I decided to write about the things that I don't see on the screen. I wanted to represent myself on the screen. And that's why I wanted to talk about all of this. After that, the community started sharing the clips, sharing the episodes. And then like people started asking me, when are you going to make more episodes? That's something that I didn't expect. La comunidad empezó a compartir los videos, los episodios, y me estaban preguntando cuándo vas a hacer más videos, y eso es algo que yo no esperaba, porque para empezar, cuando yo empecé la serie, yo no tenía ninguna meta, yo no sabía ni hacia dónde iba. I didn't know where I was going with the series. But also, another thing that happened is that people started sending messages and saying, hey, that person in the park buying the social security number, that's me. Or saying, another person saying like, oh my God, like the boyfriend thing, that has happened to me. So people started connecting with the series. People started like identifying with the series. And then I started learning about what representation means. Las personas me empezaron a mandar mensajes, me empezaban a decir, hey, esa persona comprando el seguro social, ese soy yo. O me hablaban de otros estados, de otras ciudades, me mandaban mensajes y me decían, oh my God, la persona que rompió con el novio por no tener papeles, like, eso me pasó a mí, algo similar. So la gente se estaba identificando con los episodios, y ahí fue donde yo empecé a aprender lo que era la importancia de la representación. So, entonces empecé a escribir más episodios y dije, voy a escribir la temporada 2. Season 2, empecé a escribir más episodios. I started writing more episodes, and then I applied for grants. I started fundraising on Indiegogo, which is a page to fund film projects. Empecé a pedir por donaciones, empecé a aplicar para becas. I didn't get the grants that I got. It was a learning lesson for me because I feel like the world was collapsing and I feel like everything was over. And then we collected about like $3,000 on Indiegogo on a page similar to GoFundMe. Colectamos cerca de $3,000 para hacer el proyecto. De ahí decidí escribir 6 nuevos episodios para la temporada 2 y le pedí ayuda una vez más a todos mis amigos, a todas las personas que ya conocía, y usamos el dinero para comprar un micrófono y para la comida. We used the money to buy a mic and to buy food for the days of filming. So we started shooting, and we shoot for about, I believe, 15 days. There were over about probably 150 volunteers in front of the camera, behind the camera. It was a lot of work, but after a long journey, I completed the season 2, and I was able to create an official trailer, and that's what I'm going to share right now.
You're working Thursday to Saturday, and what's another plus 10?
Fernando, bueno, lo que vamos a hacer aquí es llevar agua a las mesas, llevar los platos, ayudar a meter los
He's so cute. Fernando, mucho gusto.
Oye, mi hijo, ¿no tienes novia?
so much bullshit.
The next time you want to say shit about me, you better say it to my face. You stupid immigrant bitch.
¿Tiene vaca? No, no califiqué.
I was sure how. We're not high school transcripts. You can't upgrade. Estoy indocumentado, nada me ha detenido.
Nada me ha detenido. Porque no quieres metas. We're gonna have 2 mimosas, please. Oh, no, no, I'm not gonna drink water from you, please. One day you just wake up and think, I'm tired and I don't want to be afraid anymore. Algo que le rompe esa ansiedad.
So we premiere the season 2 in 2017, November 2017. Estrenamos la serie en noviembre en 2017. And then with those 6 episodes, the series got nominated to the LA Web Fest nominations, que son las premiaciones de las series en internet. It got nominated to, it's like the awards for web series on internet, and it got 5 nominations, 4 nominations for myself for best series, directing, writing, lead actor, and then my co-star also got nominated, and we got best actor and best supporting actor. And then on my journey, as you can see on the trailer, I wanted to share that this character is living with the 2 secrets. He's in the closet and he's in the shadows and he's trying to find his place, his own voice. Yo quería compartir cómo este personaje vivía en 2 closets, vivía en las sombras y también vivía en el closet por ser gay, y está tratando de encontrar su identidad, está tratando de encontrar su voz. Entonces yo ya estaba, I was already like, I feel unstoppable. I want to keep doing this for the rest of my life. I kind of like finding myself. I know how to celebrate my story, how to tell my story. I have my power. I don't need the studios to come and tell me or hiring me for me to write. Yo aprendí que no necesitaba de los estudios para venir y contratarme para yo poder contar las historias que yo quería contar. Empecé a escribir la temporada 3, and then en la temporada 3 escribí 7 nuevos episodios. Esa es una foto de cuando terminé el guión. Fueron 120 páginas. As also, like, one thing that I've been learning, it's like writing. I wrote season 1 without me knowing how to write. And then season 2, I get to learn what I didn't do or what my mistakes were in season 1. And then, like, always trying to not be hard on ourselves with the things that we do. But then I knew that it was going to be a big challenge. Yo sabía que iba a ser un reto más grande porque iban a ser más páginas, más episodios, más tiempo en la pantalla y sin dinero. Yo dije, ¿cómo le voy a hacer? Es muy difícil el trabajo, estar filmando sin dinero, sin pagar a las personas, con puros voluntarios, a veces sin comida, a veces tener que decirle a la mamá que cocine para darle a las personas. So then I applied to grants. And there I heard about this organization called Immigrants Rising based in San Francisco, and they do a lot of work for undocumented immigrants. Yo escuché de esta organización sin fines de lucro, se llama Immigrants Rising, y ellos proveen muchos recursos para inmigrantes indocumentados. Entonces yo apliqué para una beca como emprendedor, como entrepreneur, y recibí esa beca para poder hacer la tercera temporada de la serie. I received one of the grants to be able to make the season 3 of the series. So with that, one thing that I knew I was going to do is that I was going to hire in the main crew behind the cameras, undocumented filmmakers, undocumented and queer filmmakers, and to be able to give them a platform to develop their passion and their skill, camera, en lighting y todo lo que tenía que ser, and everything that had to do behind the scenes. Yo decidí que yo iba a darle prioridad con la beca a contratar a las personas de la comunidad migrante y LGBTQ, a migrante indocumentada, y fue así como que un grupo principal me pudieron ayudar a hacer el trabajo y darles estipendios por el trabajo que estaban haciendo. We shoot for 17 days, grabamos por 17 días. Filming is not easy. Sometimes we film until 10, 12 hours, a veces filmamos hasta 10, 12 horas. Aquí están una de las fotos con el equipo, la mayoría de ellos migrantes indocumentados, DACA recipients, LGBTQ community, la mayoría. And then this is the graphic for season 3. I was able to improve the production. So está ya con una beca, yo ya podía darle una mejor producción a la serie, una mejor cámara, y aquí está el tráiler de la temporada 3. I'm sure you were able to see it. If it needs to charge. Let's see. We can skip. We can skip. That's fine.
I would like a burger, no onions, and please help with our condition made concrete.
No sé qué voy a hacer. ¿Cómo está vestido? ¿Cómo que ya se casó? Es más joven que mi muchacho. ¿Te acuerdas como mañana venga diciendo que por lo menos estuviera? Ay, papacito chiquitito, ¿de qué haces con esa regla así? ¿Cómo que le vuela? ¿Qué pasa que si nunca se lo dan dos? Voy a mi clase de matemáticas. That's my issue. Obama coming out on TV, announcing that he's going to give more permits to people who won't qualify. Siento que toda mi vida he hecho lo que todos han querido de mí. Pensando en tomar terapia. ¿Cómo es este video de estar a punto de que salías conmigo? Desde hace tiempo que quería con el amor.
¿Cómo chingan? Más vale que me den propina. So that's the season 3 of the series. Es la temporada 3 de la serie. ¿Cómo le doy aquí? Sorry. There you go. And that's the premiere of the series in November 2019. Esa es la premiere, el estreno de la serie en el Centro LGBTQ de Los Ángeles. Tuvimos más de 200 personas invitadas. We had over 200 guests for the series. In the panel, it's all the main crew that helped me to make season 3 possible. En el panel está el equipo principal que me ayudó a hacer la temporada, 90% de ellos migrantes indocumentados, que yo quise que estuvieran en el proyecto, que fueran parte del proyecto, porque todos son cineastas, all the people are cineastas, y yo quería que fueran parte de este proyecto, por eso los invité a que fueran parte de esto. Yo tenía la decisión, cada quien tiene la decisión de hacer sus propias reglas, y yo quería que ellos fueran parte de este panel. Esas son solo gráficas de la serie. Yo quería seguir, una de las principales metas con esta serie es que yo había visto en películas, en documentales, que siempre nos enseñan a los migrantes indocumentados con todos los problemas que tenemos, pero no enseñan que a pesar de todos los problemas que tenemos, seguimos adelante. Seguimos de alguna manera despertando y celebrando nuestra vida, celebrando nuestra existencia. Seguimos, no así sentamos como que no nos queremos levantar, seguimos adelante. One of the things that I felt that I've never seen in documentaries, movies before is that they always portray undocumented immigrants as victims. They always show their struggles, but they never show their resiliency, the joy. They never show that despite everything that we go through, we manage to wake up every day, to get up and to celebrate our existence. This is why I wanted to bring this. Sometimes here and then people ask me, how do you manage to write so much comedy? And I'm like, because undocumented immigrants laugh. That's why, because we are human beings. Hay personas que se extrañan tanto de ver comedia en la serie cuando les digo que es un proyecto de migrante indocumentado, porque me dicen que cómo es que le pongo tanta comedia. Y yo les digo, bueno, pues porque nosotros nos reímos, nosotros somos seres humanos, nosotros tenemos una vida como todos los demás. So I wanted to show también mucho de las experiencias que pasamos en la comunidad latina, en la comunidad Latinx, siendo queer. And now I'm going to show you this clip talking about comedy. I'm going to show you this clip. And I just wanted to show, sometimes I don't necessarily need to write about being undocumented or queer. We just need to write about what we want. And that's some of the things that I put in this series. Muchas veces no tenemos que escribir específicamente sobre nuestra identidad o sobre la que la gente quiere de nosotros. Tenemos que escribir también de experiencias comunes que pasamos aquí o afuera o donde sea. Y esta es una de ellas. Oops.
Chicos, ya viene la comida en la mesa 4, por favor, me están ahí chingue chingue. Apúrense, ¿no?
My God, the way
Again.
Oh, ni me vas a creer qué pasó anoche.
¿Qué pasó?
Yo te quiero llevar a todos lugares, pero no podemos.
A ver. Yes. Ahí está. Atrás. Eso. Okay, let's see. Changuitos. Cross fingers.
Do you guys have any questions so far?
Okay.
Unos minutos tarde, dijo que te habías presentado y quería saber a qué edad llegaste aquí a Estados Unidos. How old were you when you came here to the US? And after you produced your first 2 episodes en YouTube, porque hiciste los primeros 2 episodios en YouTube, que no sabías prácticamente nada. Y luego has estudiado para hacer videos, has estudiado un poco de cine o has seguido aprendiendo autodidactamente?
Empecé en el colegio también al mismo tiempo que estaba haciendo la serie, pero muchas de las cosas también las he aprendido, me he ido educando en internet, en YouTube. YouTube ha sido mi mayor enseñanza. Sigo estudiando YouTube todo el tiempo. YouTube has helped me all the time. I was going to college at the same time that I was starting the series, but Google has always, that's where I learned how to do screenplays. That's where I'm learning like how to produce, how to direct, how everything. I think the internet, YouTube, Google has so many resources and it's so underestimated. Mucha gente menosprecia tanto, and that has helped me so much with continuing with my journey. Now, after this, people starting like offering me gigs. And at the beginning, I used to say no. And then I thought, I'm never going to be ready. So I'm just going to say yes. So now I just say yes to every gig that I've been offered as producer, as director, as editor. Las personas me empezaron a ofrecer trabajo al mismo tiempo que empezaron a conocer de mi serie. Al principio yo decía que no porque tenía miedo, pero después me di cuenta que uno nunca va a estar listo. So empecé a sentirme cómodo con tirarme al fuego, con salirme de mi plataforma cómoda. I had to be okay with being comfortable stepping out of my comfort zone to throw myself into the fire. So now every time someone asks me like, hey, can you do this? And if I don't know how to do it, you say yes. And then like I just figure it out somehow. I learned that that's going to be my journey. I was going to say something else, pero viene más adelante. No me quiero adelantar. I'm going to jump to the next slide. We're having some technical difficulties. We apologize for that. These are some graphics from the series. I also wanted to focus on the journey because at the end, my character starts going to college and he's struggling a little with college. So yo también, en mi personaje en la serie está teniendo problemas encontrándose en el colegio. Entonces yo quería enseñar un poco de eso también. So van a ver un poco de eso en la temporada 3. Y con eso concluyo solo el journey de Undocumented Tales, a project that changed my life, that helped me find my voice as an artist, as a professional filmmaker. Con eso concluyo mi historia del proyecto Historias Indocumentadas, un proyecto que me cambió la vida, un proyecto que me ha ayudado a encontrar mi voz y que me está ayudando a encontrar mi camino como un filmmaker, como un cineasta profesional. Actualmente estoy escribiendo la temporada 4. Probablemente la empecemos a grabar el siguiente año, en enero, en febrero, y estoy muy emocionado. Aquí están las redes sociales para que vean la página si quieren checar la serie, los episodios. Today I'm writing the 4th season of the series. Hopefully we start shooting in January, February. Ya lo repetí, no sé si me voy de inglés a español, no sé si ya repetí inglés o español. And then after that, so now, well, one thing that I wanted to mention is like, remember I mentioned that I got the grant for season 3 from this organization, Immigrants Rising. For season 2, I applied to the same grant. And obviously applying to grants is a process, right? I don't know if you had applied to grants where you had to write, you had to invest time to apply to this grant. And I was like, I believe like out of like maybe 200 applicants, I was like in the final 10 for season 2. And I thought I was gonna get it. And I did the final interview and I didn't get it. And I thought like, I'm gonna give up. I'm not gonna be a filmmaker. I'm not gonna do this anymore. And then I cried. And then I went out with my friends and we got drunk and I spent more money and money that I didn't have. And then the next day I woke up and I said, somehow I'm gonna get this done. And I did it without money, season 2. And then 2 years later, I applied to the same grant and I got it. And the message here is that, yeah, we might feel like sometimes we don't get that grant that we really want, but we have to keep going. Like out of 10 grants, maybe like we're gonna get 1. So we had to keep going. And I got the grant for season 3. And hopefully I get to apply for grants for season 4. I still saben dónde, the research. So now, um, mencioné that I came to this country when I was 18 years old. I started taking ESL classes when I was 18, and I got my GED when I was 30. And then I started college when I was 30, 31. And then vine a este país a los 18, empecé a tomar clases de inglés a los 18, duré todos mis 20 estudiando inglés. Cuando tenía 30 recibí mi equivalente de la high school y a los 30 me recibí en el colegio, pude entrar al colegio a los 30 años y duré 6 años para recibir my associates in film and TV production. It took me 6 years to get an associates in film and TV production. Me tomó 6 años recibir mi certificado de producción en televisión y cine, but one of the things that I struggle the most is that I used to compare myself to the rest. And I was like, she's 23, she's already graduating. He's 24, he's already has his own house. My journey, it's only mine. Yo sufría mucho porque yo me comparaba con todas las demás personas. Yo me comparaba con las personas que iban al colegio y se graduaban a los 22 y a los 26 ya tenían una casa. Y yo decía, ¿cuándo voy a ser yo? ¿Cuándo va a ser mi oportunidad? ¿Cuándo voy a salir de esto? You had to find the joy and the resiliency in your own experience. Tenemos que encontrar nuestra fuerza, nuestra resiliencia en nuestra propia experiencia. And I think that one of the things that make us feel like we're not happy is that we compare ourselves, we compare our journey to others. Comparamos nuestro camino con el de otras personas. People have laughed about me for celebrating going to college when I was 30. La gente se reía de mí cuando les decía que estaba yo emocionado por ir al colegio cuando yo tenía 30 años. Y recuerdo que una vez iba a planear una fiesta con mis amigos porque yo iba a ir al colegio por primera vez a los 30 y me dijeron, una persona me dijo, no mames, tienes 30 años, ¿qué vas a celebrar? This person said like, come on, you're 30, like there's nothing to celebrate, you know, pero esa persona no sabía mi experiencia. That person didn't know my experience. So let's not compare our experiences to others. And then after a long journey, I started my production company, Ibanez Productions, again, with the resources that I now know that I have. Muchas personas no saben, many people don't know that there's a lot of resources out there. Muchas personas no saben que tenemos muchos recursos allá, que hay organizaciones que nos ayudan. There are different organizations that are helping undocumented immigrants. And then I'm going to start with the second presentation. It's going to be really short because many people ask me how to create your own project. Muchas personas me preguntan cómo crear el propio proyecto. Muchas preguntas me mandan por social media. Hay personas que me quieren invitar a salir a un café y me dicen, hey, es que yo quiero empezar a contar mi historia, ¿cómo le hago? Aquí, por ejemplo, si hay alguien que quiere contar. Okay.
Sí, antes de continuar, si podemos, esa fue su experiencia de Armando acerca de la producción. La próxima sección es cómo lo podemos hacer nosotros mismos. Pero antes de continuar, ¿hay alguna pregunta acerca de lo que ya repasamos? So, are there any questions right now? So this next session is going to be about creating your own projects, more if you want to do your own film. But he shared the video. If you have any comments about the videos that you saw, anything about how it made you feel to see those stories up on screen, anything about the first section of the presentation, we'll go over that right now, and then we can move on to the next part of the presentation.
Yo no tengo una pregunta, nada más quiero decir que lamento no poder quedarme en esta segunda parte, pero lo que quiero decir es que muchas gracias por lo que haces. Yo creo que estoy segura casi en un 90% por lo menos que tu historia es la historia de mucha gente, ¿no? Pero lo importante es la lección que nos llevamos, o al menos que yo me estoy llevando este día, de saber que pasamos muchas cosas, pero también de reconocer lo valiosos que somos. Y cómo podemos, lo que sigue, ¿verdad? Cómo podemos hacer, pero en la manera que tú ya lo contaste todo. Yo me voy muy inspirada y muy motivada en seguir compartiendo con nuestra comunidad esto, en seguir agarrándonos de la mano porque sí podemos.
Sí podemos.
Tenemos tanta capacidad en nosotros mismos, sin tener cosas materiales al lado, nosotros mismos como personas con nuestro trabajo y nuestra lucha, tenemos mucho que hacer y podemos hacer mucho, ¿verdad?
Así es.
Y podemos ayudarnos unos a otros. ¿Sí? El simple compartir nuestras historias como lo estás haciendo tú ahora es increíble. Yo te felicito. Por favor, continúa llevando esto en cualquier espacio que se te abra, porque es muy importante ser inspiración para otros. Pues muchas gracias por eso y lamento no quedarte.
No, muchísimas gracias por compartir, muchísimas gracias.
Seguirte.
Claro que sí.
Definitivamente, y en mi familia, todos te vamos a...
Por favor. Gracias por compartir, gracias por estar aquí.
For Armando and the work that he's done. I mean, I think most people understood what she said. It's, you know, she feels very motivated and she's really grateful that he's sharing his story and she's urging him to continue sharing his story. Y antes de que se vaya, pueden ver toda la serie en YouTube.
La seguro que lo
Sí, desde el principio, ¿eh? Ok. Sí. Si me mandan mensaje, yo contesto ahí en los mensajes. Ok. Gracias, en las páginas.
Esas playas me llevaste a Acapulco.
Es Acapulco bonito, qué bueno, me da mucho gusto. Hasta luego. Questions about the story, question about...
I wanted to know what inspired you to get into or choose filmmaking as a career path. Quería saber qué te inspiró para escoger ser cinematógrafo como carrera. ¿Qué es lo que te inspiró a hacer eso?
I'm glad that you asked that because I actually skipped that part, and usually I put it in the presentation. When I was a kid, I just fell in love with watching movies. Since I was like 6, 7 years old, I started watching films from the Mexican cinema in the 50s. And then when I was 14, I remember like I used to like buy magazines, film magazines. And then when I was 17, I would skip school to go to the movies by myself. A mí me empezó a gustar las películas desde que tenía 7 años. Cuando tenía los 2, siempre veía las películas del cine mexicano de los 50s. Y ya cuando tenía 13, 14 años empecé a comprar revistas de cine. A los 16, 17 ya iba al cine yo solo. Like, I just love movies. But one interesting thing that happened is that when I was around 10 years old, I saw some celebrities in Acapulco, some soap operas from like novelas, from Mexican novelas, and I saw them so white, blonde, blue eyes, that in my mind, and these celebrities were portraying poor people in the novelas, right? These celebrities were portraying poor people in the novelas. So when I saw them live, I was shocked. And I was like, wait, they don't look like us. They don't look like me. They don't look like, and they're poor people in the novelas. So in my mind, I thought, oh, so this is what it means to be on TV. And this is what it means to be not on TV. So those are the pretty people, and these are the ugly people. So in my mind, at 10 years old, that's how it started the racism and colorism in entertainment. And many of us growing up, we don't question that. We don't question that. And like me, I just accepted it. So I grew up thinking that film and arts is only for white people or rich people. To be in front of the screen, it's only for light-skinned people. So for me also, this is more powerful because I get to put everyone in it. Cuando yo estaba niño, fui a la escuela y vi unas celebridades de las telenovelas mexicanas. En persona las vi y me di cuenta que estas personas que estaban actuando como personas pobres en las novelas eran rubias, eran con ojos azules. Y yo entonces me di cuenta que esas personas no se veían como yo, como mi familia, como las personas que vivíamos en Acapulco. Y fue ahí cuando yo empecé a pensar que tal vez esa era la gente con sociedad bonita que estaba en televisión y nosotros éramos la gente considerada fea que estamos no en televisión o que no merecemos estar en televisión. Y ese es un problema muy grande porque ese es el problema del colorismo, porque todos crecemos no cuestionando eso, crecemos aceptando eso. Y es por eso que para mí es muy importante también hablar de eso, porque yo crecí creyendo que yo no podía ser un cineasta, que no podía ser un artista, que no merecía tener la plataforma porque no era una persona blanca. So that's how I started becoming a filmmaker. Me fui por otro lado, pero another question.
I was just gonna ask, you already kind of answered it, but like, when did your peers realize that there was a lack of representation in film?
I think that yes, I mean that without knowing right exactly what it was. That, but also like there's a moment I remember like probably like around 11 years ago. I turned the TV on and the Emmys, the Tonys were on, the awards for the plays in Broadway, and there was this show called In the Heights, and it was getting all the awards. And then I got excited and I went to see the show here in LA. And when I saw the show, I couldn't believe that I was watching. I couldn't believe that I was watching a play, a musical about poor people, brown people, Latino people. And I was just like feeling like so like I never felt this before. Like what's going on? Like I was so excited. That's when I learned that I never felt identified in other projects. That's when I felt like, oh, there's no projects like this. There's no projects like about us. And that's when I started realizing more consciously about what representation is, what the lack of representation was. Cuando yo estaba viendo hace 10 años la premiación de los Tonys, los premios para los musicales en Broadway, me di cuenta que estaba este show que se llama In the Heights, en las alturas, y fui a ver este show en Los Ángeles y cuando lo vi yo no podía creer lo que estaba viendo. Yo estaba viendo un show de gente pobre, gente brown, de gente de la comunidad. Yo no podía creer que un show tan grande, que alguien había invertido en un show sobre nosotros. Y fue ahí donde yo me di cuenta que me sentía muy identificado, pero no solo eso, sino que no había más proyectos como esos. Fue ahí cuando ya conscientemente empecé a darme cuenta de la falta de representación, de la falta de proyectos que hay en general. Y también one thing that I learned is that it's important to bring representation because that shapes the perspective the general audiences have about us, about underrepresented communities. Me di cuenta que los medios de comunicación marcan mucho cómo una audiencia en general tiene una perspectiva sobre nosotros, sobre ciertas comunidades. And that's why it's important to create and to speak about our own stories. Any other question?
After hearing you talk about in the Heights, I heard a lot of commentary about that too. I don't have an interest in watching that guy's films just because he made a film about Hamilton. I don't know how far that can go, to be honest. But I do have a question about how you navigate, like kind of tell your story, being who you are and having such a politicized body, and like, what is it like to like, do you have an interest in being on HBO? You know, like, do you have an interest in creating these kind of stories, like putting it into the mainstream? Because I think about Netflix. There was that one movie about the maid. It was like in the 70s. I forgot what it's called. Roma, right? And that was a pretty good flick, but it's like from a remote time, right? There's a specific reason. There's a specific difference between what you're doing here and that conversation that they're having now. So I want to know if you have any interest in, bringing what you're doing to the mainstream.
I mean, yes, right? Like, yes. Okay.
Big question,
La pregunta fue si tengo algún interés en llegar a plataformas principales de comunicación como Netflix o HBO. Yes, the question is, I think so. I mean, for so many different reasons, right? Like, once because I want to show my people that we're allowed to dream big, but also because that's the only way we can create bigger changes. Because I think like Netflix, I think that is the main streaming site that a lot of people have access to, and I feel like being a show like this, being on Netflix, will help shape the perspective of many people, but will also bring representation to millions who are feeling like my character feels in the series. So that's why I think it's important to bring these shows in mainstream media. It's really hard because I do think also about here I have 100% control in it. In mainstream medias, when you get higher, you don't have 100% control, right? But it's possible. I think it's possible, and that's why I would love to, and probably will happen eventually, uh, to be in one of those platforms because of those reasons, to bring representation. ¿La repito en español? Sí tengo interés porque creo que para llegar a esas plataformas se crea un cambio mucho más grande, porque llega a audiencias mucho más grandes el mensaje cambiar y de crear un mundo mejor. Pienso que muchas personas van a tener el acceso, o más bien el proyecto va a llegar a audiencias mucho más grandes si estuviera una plataforma más grande. Yes. Yes.
My last question is, what do you think is, because, I'm a Black American, so I'm, having the privilege to be at this table and talk to you guys in a really real way. And I definitely see it because when we talk about colorism and all of that stuff, I can see it a mile away, right? And I wonder what the gap is. You talked about Issa Rae, and I definitely see the zeitgeist towards orienting Hollywood to tell Black stories. But I do see that there's a major gap in what I see you doing versus Roma getting the full production, backing, and stuff like that. And so I wonder what is the gap that that stops um, Latino and Latinx stories from being told in the mainstream in the same way as other stories. I mean, generally, I usually see like if Latinos or Latinx people want to tell their story, they got to go to their own channels. They're like if they actually own them, right? I wonder why that is. If you have any perspective on that.
I mean, that's one of the most interesting questions because, like, yeah, I think that's very complex. La pregunta fue del por qué existe un estrecho, una abertura, estrecho, me sale lo gringo.
No, un vacío.
Un vacío. ¿Por qué existe un vacío entre, a ver si la puedo traducir bien, un vacío entre las historias de latinos, traerlas a mainstream media, a los principales medios de comunicación? ¿Sí estuvo bien traducida? Sí, más o menos. I don't know. I don't know. I've been thinking about it, and I don't get a specific answer. One thing that I'm going to talk about is that that I've seen is that brown Latinos don't have unity. Unity. They're not, because we come from a scarcity, like we're fighting for the opportunities. We're not used to share. And that's sad. That's one thing that I've been talking a lot about with friends and colleagues. And I think that's a bigger force for us to continue growing, but because we're still struggling with that, I feel like that's stopping us from also coming together, like people of color with everyone. I feel like that in specific. I've been talking about this before, and I feel like that can be one because once someone makes it, like we're not rooting for the other project, and they're not rooting for the other project. That's my instinct. I've been talking about this. I've been criticized for this, but I think that's one of the things that if we were united, we could make bigger things in mainstream media. I think that could be one of the reasons. One of the reasons. Uh,
I want to comment as a spectator, and I hope folks can hear me because the mic is kind of far. But I also see that there's a huge gap between what Armando does on YouTube, and even the fact that Latinos own networks. Those networks are not representative of the spectrum of people, Latinos, Latinx, Mexicanos, Guatemaltecos. It's only like we still see a lot of colorism. So really, those mainstream are actually very conservative because Latinos traditionally are conservative. So a lot of those networks are super conservative. And even if we start seeing some of that, it's really like comical almost in the way we're portrayed, especially the LGBTQIA community. It's always comical. It's not something serious about serious relationships. So I think there's a huge gap between what we could still do when we tell our own narrative and what we can do through our own networks, our own like Univision, Telemundo, those networks that are supposed to be servicing like the Latino community, which there's still a huge gap between what is real that I think is powerful to really uplift us. But that's just my commentary.
Me acerqué por el micrófono.
I don't know if I could actually add to that because I follow a lot of like the research, the statistics, right? Like it's so true. Like I'm reading even right now, there's like 7% of like the directors were Latino, and then when you break that down into by gender, by whatever it is, it's like 2.4 females, 4.8 males, So it's like a huge gap. Only of the directors, only 7% of them were actually Latino, and so and then also that whole like scarcity mentality, that's something that I do admire of like Black community. It's like that unity. And I think in Latino culture we have a long way to go, But I hope that, I don't know, I feel like this new generation seems to be more vocal and more I don't know, like I think exposing a lot of this stuff, and so hopefully we can get to that space, representation is key. And like you said, like I'm like that too. I walk into a room and I'm like, fuck, I'm the only brown person here. And it's like I get so uncomfortable. And even around Latinos, like when I'm around Angelica's family, they're all very light complected, and I always feel like, damn, I'm the only brown person here. And so I don't know. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of issues that we have to deal with in our community. But yeah, thank you. Thank you for your question.
Thank you for your question.
But another thing is that the Latino experience is it's not one Latino experience. Latin America is a subcontinent with 18 countries, and there is diversity in Latin America. So Latin America from Mexico doesn't necessarily have the same equal experiences as the Central Americans or South Americans or Caribbeans. So there is a lot of diversity, and so if you represent a story in mainstream media here that depicts the life and the tribulations of a Mexican or an Afro-Caribbean, it may be different. The Cubanos here have privileges. They come here legally, not the Central Americans or the Mexicans or a lot of the South Americans. So there is variation in experiences, and I think what probably will unify some of these stories here are the Latinos who grew up here or were born here, because they were born and have experienced the culture of the United States, being a minority, being a Latin American or Hispanic, as they say here. But the older generation, those who came here as me, as an adult, we have very diverse experiences. And the experience of the LGBTQ community for older immigrants like myself is something really new, because those rights that the LGBT community here has had and gained for the last 20, 30 years, they're just beginning to get attention in Latin America and in some places get those rights for those communities. So there's so much diversity. It's not necessarily only that there's this unity, it's so much diversity. How can you depict this story of a Latin American when we're so diverse.
And also, I think, if I might add, that we all know that there's so much diversity, but mainstream media doesn't want to accept that. And that's why they want to keep portraying the stereotypes.
Right.
You know, I think that's another big problem that we have, that someone makes it, someone sells the show to Netflix, but they also have control to it. And they shape the project. And you might come in with all of these ideas, but they like, no, we want it like this, we want it like that, we want it like that. And that's when it loses authenticity, because their Hollywood is shaped with this idea that how Latinos are. You know, they have this generalization, and that is like sad, because like the change is slowly. I believe there's changes, but it's very slowly. You know, I know that there are shows that are breaking so many stereotypes in mainstream media, but we have like one, and we don't have like, I want to see 10 shows about undocumented queer immigrant in mainstream media. I want to see 10 shows about but the same communities. You know, we have only one show. And on top of that, another problem is that if that show is not authentic, like we just like destroy that show, you know, but we don't know everything that took that show to get there, right? Or the people that brought the show over there. So basically, we have everything against us, but there's hope.
In the new generation, I think the new generation who were born here, who were grown up here within this culture, I mean, they have created their own culture, separate from their parents, because their experiences are different. And Univision and those networks, Telemundo and all those, they're commercial enterprises. They're not here to cater to, you know, to the diversity of communities, and not certainly the immigrant, you know, the LGBT community or the very marginalized immigrants. No, they're here to present, I mean, very bad programming, telenovelas, which basically tells us that your biggest aspiration is to marry to a rich guy and find your, you know, Príncipe Azul, and that you're always a maid aspiring to find this great rich person that will get you out of poverty. So this is the type of programming that those telenovelas offer to our people.
Yes, sadly. Okay, continuamos?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. Who feels like telling their own story? Yay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yay. So this is going to be really quick, I hope. I'm just going to give you a little like 101 on how I started creating my own project without resources. Now I'm going to give you the behind the scenes. The behind the scenes of the series is I'm just going to give graphics of what I experienced and what I went through creating the 3 seasons of the series. So you're all ready? Ready? Okay. Now wait just a minute.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, on this part, we're just gonna go over how creating a project, a film project without resources or little resources. Vamos a explorar, solamente vamos a ver poquito de cómo crear un proyecto sin recursos o con poquitos recursos. First, we all have ideas. We all have ideas about we should make a movie about this, we should do a movie about this, or I want to tell my story, or I want to tell what I went through, or I want to do a YouTube channel, and we all have the power to tell those stories. Many of us, we feel like we're not the right people, we're not the right person to tell the story, or we don't have the talent. We all have the talent. Talent is something that we develop. We are not born with talent. I believe that talent is developed through commitment and work. You need 3 things to create your own project: passion, the commitment, and the discipline. Discipline is something that I was not ready for. especially like starting my filmmaking career, being 30. I was like, oh my God, does this mean that instead of going party with my friends, I had to be shooting my story? And that hurts because I was like, but I want to keep partying. Like, I want to go, I want to happy hour. I want to go to the beach. I want to go Sunday brunch. I'm gay. I had to do Sunday brunch. And I had to give up some of the things in order for me to start creating my own project. The project steps for my series, it's writing for a film project. It's writing, pre-production, production, post-production. And then many people think that after you edit, after the post-production ends, everything ends. The promotion, it's a big, promoting your project is a big component for the success. And then I just added production company, because if you wanna like create your own company, the writing, creating process, what is your intention? What is it that you want to create? You want to do a video blog, you want to do a tutorial, you want to show how to do something, you want to do just a short film about something that happened that you want to share, you want to do a documentary, you want to tell the life of someone that you admire, or you want to do a web series, like that was my case. You can write your ideas. That's an actual picture of my room, me creating the story. I believe that's season 3, the episodes, and just creating on index cards the situations and the things that I wanted to show. You can write ideas, you can write sentences, messages, situations, and always ask yourself, what is my intention with this project? What is my intention with this tutorial? What is my intention with this short film, with this story? Is there an intention? Is there something that I want people to take from this? And then you start writing, and then you finish writing, and then you ask yourself. Usually I have no problem sharing my ideas and my script with friends. So I highly recommend that. Many of my screenwriters colleagues don't feel comfortable sharing anything with others. For me, it works. For me, it helps. For me, my friends who read my scripts are able to see things that I don't see on the script. So I'm used to like doing that. Other people feel vulnerable sharing their ideas. That's a personal decision, but my advice is that you need feedback on your scripts. You write the script. So one of the biggest things for me that prevent me from starting writing, it's I don't know how to write. My orthography, my grammar is bad. Like, I don't know how to write in English. Like, my insecurities. I don't know how to write the screenplay format, the script. There's a lot of things that you can learn in YouTube, in Google. That's where I learned all of that. And still, my grammar is really bad. And I still keep writing and writing and writing. There's a lot of easy formats. I put Celtics right there because it's a free software for scripts. And also, if you go to YouTube and you put like how to start writing scripts, the format, you will find like 3-minute videos of how to write scripts. And then once you have the script ready, once you have the story, in this case specifically about storytelling, you need to start planning the project. How are you gonna be able to do it? Do you need a budget? Do you need money? You need a team? You need equipment, and you need locations. The money is very important because one of the most important things is that you always have to feed the crew, always, no matter what. But also you have to see what's the type of project you want to do. I would recommend, if you want to start with projects, don't start very ambitious with a feature length, 100 pages. We can start with 5 pages, 10 pages, or even 15 pages. Short film. This is for storytelling. For a blog, it's a lot different. You can do it like yourself, in your house, in your room. For donations, usually GoFundMe is the easier way to collect funds. You have to choose your platform, but GoFundMe is the one that I recommend. You have to create a goal, create your page to donors. What are you going to use the money for, and why do you need to complete this project? To create crowdfunding, you always have to convince people why they need to donate. You need to pitch the project to them, and you need to create. There's millions of videos of how to be creative depending on the project that you want to do. Instead of a timeline for the campaign, I would say 30 days, it's always the average, and run the campaign on social media. Now, one of the biggest problems that we all have, and me and my colleagues, we always talk about it, is it's so hard to ask for money. It's so hard to tell people, please donate, to tell people, please donate to my project, to share the project, to send personal message. Maybe the first project is gonna be like this, but the second project is gonna be like, please ask for money. In the third project, you're gonna be like, donate, please, donate. And you're gonna be sending and posting every day. And it's always a process, but don't be, if you really believe in your project, don't be shy to ask for donations. Don't be shy to ask for a GoFundMe project. The team, how do we get a team? When you don't have resources and you know that you're not gonna be able to pay your crew, if you're gonna shoot for 1 or 2 days, you have to pitch the project to your friends and colleagues, because they're the ones who are gonna be there. They're the ones who believe in you. They're the ones who say, I believe in you. I believe that this project can, how I got my project done, because a lot of people believe in me. A lot of people were there volunteering 4 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, and they said, I'm here to help you. So you had to communicate your vision with them. For me, it was like, I really want to tell my story. I really want to tell the story of an undocumented queer Mexican server. Let me show you my ideas. So I want a scene about this white lady who comes to me and she speaks to me in Spanish and I hate it. And that's how we just pitch the project to my friends. And during that conversation, one of my friends said, do you need a restaurant? My uncle owns a restaurant. I can ask him. That's how I was pitching just the project. Sometimes you just pitching the ideas. Sometimes you just pitching, I want people to see my project. Create your own rules. There are no rules for pitching. Create your own rules when it comes to pitching to your friends and calling. When you're gonna go to the next stage, or you're gonna get a professional actor, like always give them the most, even if it's not professional, give them the most information that you can. You know, sometimes people ask me for help and they said, hey, I want to talk to you about something. Just tell them everything. I want to talk to you about something. I have this project. It's a web series. It's a non-paid gig. I have no resources, but my project with this is that I want to educate my audience. There's not a project like this. I need your help. Can you volunteer 4 hours? It's going to be November 26th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Give them all the information you have, all of them. So that way they know right away if they can do it or not. But sometimes we struggle with communicating, with being, just be direct with all the information that you can give them. Dates, times, locations, there's a budget, is it a paid gig, it's not a paid gig. That's like key since the first form of communication is like, this is a non-paid gig, I have no resources, this is a paid gig, it's a small budget, I can give you $50 per a date, or I can give you for gas. Always be direct with that, because people, sometimes there's miscommunications in that. Always be conscious of people's time. One thing that I struggle a lot to in my journey is that people feel like they have to use the best cameras to tell a project. And I seriously believe that you can use a cell phone to tell a story. You can use a cell phone, you can use maybe lights if you can get them, a tripod, but that's all you need to tell a story. When I was shooting season 1 of Undocumented Tales, people were saying, you're using cheap cameras, you're using cheap mics, but I really believe in my story. When they were telling me that, I would think, but my story is there. The story is there. It doesn't matter what type of camera I use. It doesn't matter if I use lighting or not. Like, this is just the beginning. My vision is bigger. I have five seasons for my project. That's what I used to think. And sometimes people don't know how to tell you. People don't have the reaction that you would expect. Sometimes people tell you like, oh, you're not a professional director. You haven't even graduated from school. Like, you have to be okay with not getting the answers that you would expect. Locations, houses, businesses, school, community spaces. I always recommend houses because those are the easiest locations to get from your family, from your friends. Businesses, if it's a small project, I would say always go to a small businesses, and sometimes people negotiate. Sometimes business owners, they know what community is. Sometimes they still know what community is, but they still want to get something out of it. So sometimes they negotiate. They want to help you, but also they want to get something in return. So always try to be mindful that not all businesses are going to support, but some of them are going to be like, here's my space, use it. But again, you're going to have to pitch the project all the time and do a little research. Do a little research about like, okay, I want to shoot at that restaurant. Like, I want to see who the owner. I want to see their website. I want to see their social media. I want to see who they are. Community spaces, always same. Always pitch the projects. Tell them the community in LA has helped me. We have filmed in so many community spaces because they're always down to help the projects like Undocumented Tales. Then we go to production. So we have the budget, we have the team, we have the equipment, and we have the locations. Production, you have to be on point with planning the logistics, the times. You have to, if you're gonna be directing, you have to produce. You need to get a producer. I usually don't recommend to produce and direct, which is a thing that I did myself for the series because you're not gonna sleep, and it's not recommended anywhere. So you always need to get a producer, someone who wants to be a producer or someone who wants to help you with the logistics to plan how would you use the budget. Food should be always a priority. Always. If we have zero budget, we have to make sure that at least we get people to donate the catering, to donate the pizzas, to donate the tacos. That's always 100% rule. Plan the dates, times, emails, phone numbers, lunchtime. Lunchtime goes along with the food. Always never forget about that. During when I was shooting season 3 with a budget, I didn't know I had to provide breakfast to the crew, and then I got kind of like called out and be like, this person should have to bring their own breakfast. I didn't know that. I learned it that day, and the next day I was like, we're bringing breakfast from now on for everyone. I learned it that way, but I had to be now mindful that we always have to provide food for everyone, paid or not paid. Then production. Communicate your vision with your team. Why are you shooting with a cell phone? So let's read that tweet from Nia Da Costa. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me. To start off, one mistake I made while making a film was at times not speaking up for exactly what I wanted. From that, I learned that my instincts are there for a reason, and I was hired for a reason, to direct. Another thing that I struggled during my journey, and even like not only on Undocumented Tales, but for other projects that I've been hired for now, is that sometimes I think they call it imposter syndrome, when I feel like because the person that they hired to do the camera for a project that I am directing, I feel like he knows more. I feel insecure about giving my directions. And if this person or the producer takes a decision and they said, this is how I want it, and something in me, it feels like that's not right. And I feel like I don't want to say it because I feel like, oh, well, this person worked with Julia Roberts, so they know everything. I don't know anything. Just trust your instincts. Just go for it. Just say, that's not how I want it. I put the cell phone there because cheap cameras is what I've been always criticized for. But people don't know that I cannot afford a rate camera. And sometimes I have to be proving myself to people, like, this is why I'm taking these decisions. So never feel like you don't know what you're doing. If your instincts say, like, no, this is what I want, that just don't be afraid to speak up. It doesn't matter if 10 people in your production have 20 years of experience and you're barely starting. Don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to say, I don't want the shot like that. I don't want the light like that. I don't want the lady sitting on that couch. I want her here. Like, don't be afraid to give directions. And then always be professional. Depending on the project, always delegate roles. Enjoy the process. Always believe that you're there for a reason, you're directing for a reason, and be respectful to everyone. Always say please, always say thank you. Um, always be respectful. If it's a paid gig or if it's not a paid gig, if you have a budget, if you're paying or not, always be respectful and be aware when people are volunteering their time. Always, usually in filming, we go over time. If we plan to shoot from 10 to 4, by 4, we're not done. Always be aware. And if you have to shoot 2 more hours, always communicate with your team. Always tell them, like, I am aware that we're supposed to wrap up at 4. Everyone's more than welcome to wrap up, but I'm gonna stay and film, and somehow you have to get it done. And there's always gonna be people that are gonna be like, I'm gonna help you, like, no matter what, like, I'm here, let's do it. Sometimes there are things that are not in your hands, that go out of hands, and then, like, that's why. But most likely, film projects go out of time. Respect lunch times. We go again with the food. You're gonna see the food thing in all of my graphics. Respect people's times. Be aware. Okay, this is the most important thing. Be aware of last minute challenges. People cancel the location. Sometimes you're ready to shoot in that house, and then something happened, and you got that call that you cannot shoot there, and then it's 6 a.m., and then you have to find the location. Sometimes the camera doesn't work, the mic doesn't work, and then an actor calls out and says, like, I'm not gonna make it because this is volunteer job, and I got a paid gig. You have to be okay with that. Don't cry. It's a challenge. Don't go to the restroom and cry. Cry if you have to, but I just want you to know that there's going to be many challenges in it. The script changes if your actor calls out. I did that in the 3 seasons of Undocumented Tales. I had to edit the script on the spot. We were shooting at 6 a.m. and by 10 a.m. I had different pages, different characters. I will ask a friend, like, hey, can you be a different act? Can you be a new character now? I have a new character now here. That's something that I didn't expect when I was starting, and for some reason, it's very common. It's very common in filming. It's very common in projects. So don't feel like everything's that just a challenge, a last minute challenge is gonna ruin your project. You got this. You got this. Again, what a surprise! Always with the team. During pre-production, you can prioritize donations for this. If your goal on GoFundMe was 10K and you only got 1K, this should be the priority. This should be the priority all the time. Production, never underestimate your project. You never know where your small project, if you call it small, it's gonna go. Those release forms, you will find them on Google. There's like hundreds of release forms that you can find. The more simple they are, the better when you're starting with projects like this. So, because sometimes people feel intimidated reading 3 pages, 5 pages, like, as long as it's clear for the actors, for the crew. Art is very important, especially if you're shooting with community spaces, with community artists, all type of artists. Always make sure. I would suggest not to use art, because sometimes it's a big deal, especially if your project goes big. But always music for my project, I started using community artists that were so happy helping me with season 2 and season 3, and they gave me the rights to use their songs in the project. But always get the release forms and don't underestimate where your project is gonna go. Thank everyone all the time. I had in the 3 seasons, I had probably around almost 300 volunteers. Well, season 3, the main crew got paid, but other than total volunteers and people who got paid in season 3, it's over 300 people. Then you finish your project, you go to post-production, editing. A lot of people ask me, can you edit my project? Can you edit my YouTube channel? Can you edit my cooking channel videos? Everyone can edit, and most of the people that are creating their own projects, they're editing their own projects. There's a lot of softwares, but the one that I recommend to start, if you don't know how to edit, it's iMovie. A lot of people are using iMovie already. Final Cut, it's like more like professional. Premiere too, but iMovie is the one that you can create a short film in. iMovie, it's a $4.99. That one, I think it's Apple application. Protect your work. If you're doing a short film, make sure that you protect your work. It's the process might be intimidating, but it's very simple. The copyright to protect your work. Again, don't underestimate your art. Don't think that just because you shoot it with a cell phone, it doesn't have value. It has value. It has value. Allow yourself to dream big, even if you show a 1 minute short film. And then once you have your project complete, you already completed 50% of it. Many people think that's 100%. For me, it's 50%. You already completed the script, production, post-production's ready to post, but the other 50% is make a plan to promote your project. Sometimes I used to think that, I'm just gonna post it on YouTube, and then like, boom, everyone's gonna watch it. You need to promote your short film, your video, everything that you're doing. You need to promote. You need to know your audience. You need to create social media pages, create graphics or videos. You have to know who your main audiences is. This is the undocumented immigrant community, the LGBTQ community. It's a mature audiences. Who's your audiences? So you need to create graphics, videos. Canva is the one that everyone uses. It's free and it's very easy, and it has a lot of like samples already to go from there. Like here, this was the first materials that I created. The graphics I created. My friend helped me creating the logo, and from there I created different graphics for Facebook cover, YouTube cover, Instagram, the official logo. It's the same, and on Canvas you just like create different shapes with the same one. Those are the social medias that I created for Undocumented Tales: YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then these are the promotional materials. So what I did there is that I created just one graphic for season 3, and then I would just copy and change the photo. I would just copy and change the photo, change the color, and then I would post it every 3 days. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and every time the views would increase because of the promotion. But it's your project. Like your friends, they're gonna be happy for you. They're gonna share it, but the ones who's gonna promote it a lot is you. So that was very easy for me because like I was just changing the photos, and it was the same graphic. This is a video intro that I did for the series. This is the very first intro that I did for the series. Let's watch it.
Hola, hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Mi nombre es Armando Ibáñez. Yo estoy escribiendo y dirigiendo Undocumented Tales, historias indocumentadas. La historia trata sobre Fernando. Fernando es un mesero mexicano que trabaja en la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Él tiene un secreto, o tal vez dos. Él es un inmigrante indocumentado, no tiene papeles y constantemente tiene que estar mintiendo y ocultando su estatus legal. A través de diferentes situaciones cómicas y dramáticas, Fernando nos va a mostrar cómo es vivir en Estados Unidos sin documentos legales. Ahora, ¿por qué estoy haciendo este proyecto? Pienso que la comunidad inmigrante nunca ha sido bien representada en su totalidad en la industria del entretenimiento. Somos una bella comunidad y a pesar de todas las barreras, limitaciones y obstáculos que tenemos, seguimos adelante porque no nos queda de otra. Tengo dos metas con este proyecto. La primera es educar a una audiencia general acerca de quiénes somos y cómo vivimos. La segunda y muy importante, Fernando es mexicano, es latino, es indocumentado y es el personaje principal. No es el extra que aparece 5 segundos en toda la serie entera. Fernando es un personaje que va a reír, va a llorar, se va a enamorar, va a cometer errores. Y quiero que mi gente vea la serie y que diga, él no tiene papeles, ese soy yo, ese soy yo. Así que por favor los invito a ver la serie, espero que les guste. Está hecha con mucho cariño, con muchas ganas para ustedes y estén al pendientes porque próximamente les vamos a poner el avance de lo que van a ser los primeros capítulos. Nos vemos pronto. Abrazos, saludos, besos.
That I posted inviting people without premiering the series. Without premiering the series, like I was just like coming out with ideas to promote. These are some stills from Instagram page. I started putting clips, graphics, promos, interact with the audience. And that's the premiere of the series. And I was also coming out with the graphic behind. So I was like, when we do the Q&A, I will put the graphic behind, so that way people can take pictures and still can promote the series. Or someone who sees just the photo can see the logo. Undocumented Tales, what is that? 7 new episodes? So I was coming out with all of these ideas of like, how can I keep promoting and promoting and promoting? And that's basically the project of Undocumented, how to create your own projects. Here are the social media handles for my production company or for the series Undocumented Tales. But one thing I really want to like put an emphasis on is that once your project is complete, that's 50%. The other 50% is to promote, to put the project out there. Don't be shy to promote, to talk to the audience, to tell them why they should watch the project, why they're going to be interested in the project, why they need to share the project, why your project is unique. And always feel like you should enjoy the process. Don't feel it's a lot of work, but you should be able to enjoy it. Okay. Now let's go to questions about this. I know it was really, really fast. I had to update it because I wanted to put the 2 presentations in it, but usually it's more in detail. So I want to go with questions now.
Originalmente, cuando diseñaste ese proyecto, ¿para quién iba, para qué audiencia estaba dirigido Undocumented Tales? For which audience, when you conceptualized the project, for which audience you wanted to present your project?
Yeah, when I first started the project, was aimed to a general audience. I wanted to educate a general audiences about our experiences. Cuando primeramente empecé el proyecto, yo quería educar a la audiencia acerca de nuestras experiencias de la comunidad migrante LGBTQ indocumentada. But then something happened. We got unexpected changes in government. And then it turned out that racism was out of the closet. We always know that it's been there, but because we have these big changes in government, now racism was everywhere, right? And there was like constant, now the attacks towards the undocumented immigrant community was there, and then like the attacks to like all the underrepresented communities. I had to think about what I really wanted because I thought about giving up. I was like, oh, shit, like now my future is going to be different because now we have a different person in charge of this government who's like clearly against undocumented immigrants. And during that time, I had to reflect a lot. And I thought about like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go back to the shadows. But then I thought, no, this is the moment where like people need to see this. Now, what is my goal with this? Now my goal is I want to celebrate us, and I want my people to see it. I want to remind my people that we are beautiful and that we're strong and that we're resilient, and that we deserve to be here and that we deserve to exist. So my goal changed because politics changed. My primary goal was to educate audiences. Then it changed to like, I just want my people to feel seen and to feel represented with this project. I want them to not give up. El proyecto cambió después de que tuvimos cambios en el gobierno en este país y cuando me di cuenta que estaban empezando los ataques aún más duros, porque siempre han estado hacia las comunidades no representadas, la comunidad indocumentada, migrante, la comunidad LGBTQ, me di cuenta que el proyecto debía que seguir. Yo pensé en ya no seguir, pero me di cuenta que tenía que seguir porque era una manera de mí de decirle a nuestra comunidad, no se rindan, sigan adelante. Lo que estamos escuchando en las noticias es que no debemos existir, que somos personas malas, y eso no es cierto. So, con mi proyecto yo quería continuar y quiero continuar diciéndole a nuestra gente, like, we deserve to exist. Thank you por la pregunta.
El mío es más como un comentario, quiere decir muchas gracias por el trabajo que hace. Yo sé que cuando estaba enseñándonos en la primera parte sobre Undocumented Tales, hay unas veces en mi cabeza donde me ponía medio emocional porque me pensaba en mi papá. Mi papá ha pasado por experiencias similares y él siempre dice, pues pensé y dije, nunca he oído a mi papá hablar sobre sus sueños. Él siempre dice, mi sueño es verte a ti brillar. Y eso sí me pone triste porque digo, mi papá eso es como pensaba y piensa, que él ya es muy viejo para cumplir sus sueños, pero no hacer caso. Y siempre dice, pues yo ya no voy a agarrar papeles. Para mí, tú eres mi esperanza. Y eso me pone un poco triste, pero definitivamente le voy a enseñar su serie y decirle, papi, no, tú estás joven todavía, puedes lo que tú quieres. Y muchas gracias por todo. Yeah.
Gracias. Y otra cosa que yo quiero compartir nada más. One other thing that I want to share is that there was a moment in my life where I had to decide that I couldn't wait to get papers to be happy. No, it was a hard lesson, but I was like, if I wait for that, I don't know when my happiness is going to come. And for me, I had to accept that my happiness it's mine. I decide that. Yes, I'm still gonna feel like I cannot do so many things, but I wanna be able to find happiness. And that's a big lesson that I had because I used to feel like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to be happy until I get legal. You know, and I feel like most of the things we define happiness with success. And that's one thing that I had to learn myself, that I had to be able to enjoy what I have, you know. But that's a very personal journey to everyone. Algo que aprendí mucho fue que yo no podía tener que esperar a que me llegara el estatus legal para poder sentirme feliz. La felicidad es algo que yo decidí escoger cuando yo iba con este trayecto. Y hubo un punto en mi vida donde dije, ya tengo que ser feliz ahora, si no, ¿cuándo?
Exacto. Nomás para clarificar, se me olvidó, just to clarify, I forgot to translate in English. Basically, it was more of a commentary, and I told him, thank you very much for all you do and for, like, putting this out there, because a lot of people relate. Like, personally, I relate. My dad, he always tells me, I got very emotional throughout his presentation in my head because I would be thinking about my dad, and his situation is similar to his. He came here directly to work. He came here at 16, and he didn't go to high school or anything, just work. And then he said that basically his whole life has been work, and he always tells me, like, oh, like, don't worry about me, like, you're my future, you're my happiness, like, as long as you're happy, I'm happy. And I never get to hear him talk about his goals, his wishes, anything, other than I want you to succeed in life. So I was just saying that thank you for this, and I'm going to show him this definitely in
Yes,
hey,
please.
it's never too late.
Yes.
You can always fulfill your goals and dreams.
Yes, and maybe, and I think that if you ask him, like, maybe you're both going to be surprised with the answer, right? Maybe he hasn't even, like, questioned, like, I think that that's going to be beautiful.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Questions, preguntas?
It's not a question, but, like, kind of like, you made me think of something my mom has said too, and, like, it makes me think about our families that, like, did come from somewhere else, and, like, my mom has told me, like, oh, I don't have dreams. Like, she's like, I've never had dreams. I just wanted to work and, like, to provide for us. And so I never, like, it stood out in my mind, but, like, hearing you say that, and, like, it's definitely, like, I don't know, it's just, like, I don't know how to end this comment, but, like, it's definitely something that stood out to me. Like, I've heard my mom say that she doesn't have dreams, and, like, but she never felt that she could, like, it was something that she could follow for it.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that's something that, I also feel identified. I feel like related because, like, many of our parents, they feel like they have no other choice, right? That just to provide. And because it's a different generation too, and they're just on survival mode too. You know, how do we get out of that? How do we get out of that and be like, okay, now I can dream, I can do this, I can do that. Maybe like some stepping out of that survival mode, it's like hard, you know.
Definitely. Something else I want to add is that my dad, he came here to work for my grandparents back in Mexico. So even from the moment he came here, it's always been work and providing for somebody. And that was either his disabled sister or his parents, and then he had us, and now it's caring for us. It's always been providing. And like you said, it's really hard to get out of that mindset and think of for oneself.
Yes, definitely.
I wanted to know, I know you said that you pitched your script to your friends and you got their feedback and they helped you really develop it. I want to know if you had any more like, mentorship, like what was the role of like, outside your friends, like who was there for you to be able to help you mold this project into creation? Like, especially during like difficult times of unforeseen things just changing and stuff like that. And just like, specifically like, the conversation around the role of your work as undocumented peoples are like being more attacked, you know what I mean? I don't know, that's the question.
And to touch on that just briefly, did you get the support from your family? Because going online and video and telling your story, it requires courage, valentia, because you're exposing yourself as an immigrant, as an undocumented, as a gay person. What did your family think about all of this?
La pregunta en español fue, primero quién ha sido, aparte de compartir los guiones con amigos, quién más ha estado ahí para darme apoyo o darme consejos, y también si he recibido apoyo de mi familia, porque me estoy exponiendo por mi identidad y mi estatus. Sí he recibido apoyo de mi familia siempre, desde que empecé el proyecto. Siempre, no me han cuestionado, me han dicho adelante. Y de mentores en sí, mis mentores siempre han sido personas que admiro, artistas que admiro. My mentors have been always like, I haven't had like direct mentors that I could tell like this person guide me. Always the people that I admire so much, I spend so much time on YouTube, like you have no idea. I spend so much time on YouTube watching videos, of artists like Issa Rae, like Viola Davis, and I do remember when I was starting Undocumented Tales, I reached out to director Aurora Guerrero. She directed a movie called Mosquita y Mari. It's on Netflix. And I asked her for questions, and she was able to reply and give me advices and everything. But other than that, I don't it was just my friends and my colleagues. But for me, it's always me watching videos on panels about writing, panels about how to I have watched all of the videos of Issa Rae. I feel like all of her videos I've watched it, and that's where I'm learning from all those panels. How to do all of the projects, the stages of writing, of directing, of putting together something without resources. I feel like the internet, all these artists, amazing artists that I admire, have been my mentors without them knowing. Gracias. ¿Qué otras preguntas? Now, who's ready to launch their own project? Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Well, I want to thank you guys for just again being willing to be with your Saturday. Just to be here with us. Armando, thank you again for just coming out here, meeting with us. I hope that some of you guys need inspired to get started. And let's. When's your season gonna come out again?
Well, right now I'm writing season 4, but also I'm writing season 4, and then hopefully we'll start shooting in January, February. You can follow us on social media for updates. We're always posting every season. for work or volunteers. Hopefully we get like money, like to hire everyone, but also like to stay updated with the projects that I'm working. Right now I'm producing and directing a documentary series about the life of 25 immigrant trans women living in the US. So we are like following them around the city, the 25, and we're gonna tell the stories, and that's gonna be created for Trans Latina Coalition, which is an organization that provides resources to the trans immigrant community. So that's a big project that I'm working right now for 6 months, and that's gonna premiere in January. So that's gonna be a beautiful project that deserves to be told.
Very cool, very cool. I think that's it. Before you guys leave, there's some food that somebody brought over, some enchiladas, rice and beans. If you guys want to take it as you walk out, you want to chill behind, I would love to connect. And thank you again, Armando, for.
We should take a picture.
Oh yeah, group
Let's take a picture.
Is that okay?